I don't think you actually know enough about Erie, Colorado to make an informed decision on whether it's a good idea to move here. If you're looking to move anywhere, you want to get a more in-depth understanding of the town first, right? Regardless of where it is. So let's avoid taking a shot in the dark on where you're wanting to move and actually get into the nitty-gritty aspects of Erie and cover a few items I believe you have to know up front. I'll even cover an extra item at the end because it's not necessarily a make or break, but it is something that's a bit annoying and most don't know about it until it's too late. That way, if you decide Erie is right for you, you'll at least have covered your bases. You'd kick yourself if you didn't. Let's get into it. So the first thing is that Erie, Colorado is a commuter town. It's located about 30 minutes from Boulder and around 40-ish minutes from Denver. Now, this is really excluding traffic. Erie is one of the farthest suburbs north of the city, so getting into Denver can be a bit of a drive. Not really a good choice if you're trying to work in the center or southern half of the city. Perhaps in places like the Denver Tech Center. That's gonna be a drive and traffic can be so bad sometimes. You're better picking a location farther south, like Parker or Littleton, for example. But heading into Boulder is much more reasonable. Erie sits right on the edge of Boulder County, with about half the town in Weld County as well. And it's close enough to the city that a lot of people commute there. Now, something worth mentioning though is that unlike the commute into Denver, which you take I-25, that being the main highway system that runs from northern Colorado all the way to New Mexico and beyond, the route into Boulder from Erie is going to be a few smaller avenues. These are predominantly 2-lane roads that are subject to quite a bit of traffic. It ties into Erie being a newer town, but really if you're not taking Route 36 or Highway 119 into Boulder, which you really wouldn't coming from Erie, it would just take way too long. You're going to most likely be taking Route 7 or Valmont Road, either of which is a 2-lane. The former is more popular and yet prone to traffic. The other is rural, scenic, but a bit longer of a drive. Plus, towns like Louisville and Lafayette are in the middle, so you have to cross through these first. And if we're being honest, the total number of stoplights is probably going to aggravate you. Next is going to be the cost of living in Erie, but also the home size. I love Erie personally because it has some of the largest homes for its price in the entire Boulder County. Here's what I mean. At the time of this video, the median home price for a single family home in Erie is $762,500. But the price per square foot in Erie is one of, if not the lowest in the entire Boulder County, at $232, which means that the estimated size is just shy of 3,300 square feet. Now, Erie doesn't have the largest homes in Boulder County. One town that's gonna beat it is Niwot to the west, but the home prices here are in the millions. So for Boulder County, Erie is one of the most affordable suburbs, but also has the best price per square foot. There is one suburb that is technically cheaper from a price perspective, and that's Longmont, with a median price of $620,000, but it has a price per square foot of $267, meaning the median home size here is around 2,300 square feet. So it's a full 1,000 square feet smaller. Yikes. It's one of my favorite aspects of Erie. You're getting the best bang for your buck here, size-wise. And now building off of that is that a lot of Erie homes are new, or newer. That's because Erie is somewhat built up of a town, which can be a pro and con here. There is a lot of open space in Erie, especially towards the northern and eastern side of town, but with that, new neighborhoods are under construction as we speak, which is going to be found towards the south and eastern side of town, as you're getting closer to I-25. Now, there are several neighborhoods here in Erie already, but a lot of them are relatively new. It's a lot of neighborhoods, not a lot of amenities. The parks and recreation in Erie aren't the best, and the commercial side is also lacking. Now, Erie is trying to ramp that up, but compared to places like Broomfield or Louisville, I'd say Erie relies heavily on the fact that it is a bedroom community. And if you're looking for a suburb with a lot of fun things to do, I would recommend somewhere else. But Erie does have plans to continue to build up the town. I'll include a link below to their future development plan. plans. Might be a bit of nighttime reading, but if you're interested, it's definitely worth the review. And so as a result of this, Erie does have a blend of the suburban and rural feel to it, especially since it borders a lot of the southern rural areas of Longmont, the suburb to the north. There is a clear delineation of the suburban neighborhoods and the open areas of Erie. Erie is a bit farther out on the plains compared to suburbs closer to Boulder, naturally given the location of the mountains. But once you get out near I-25, it's very apparent. Now this, in my opinion, isn't a bad thing. It does offer a break from the hyper-suburban feel you can find in suburbs closer to Denver, which might be what you're looking for. In Erie, there's almost an immediate transition from the neighborhoods to open rural living. And with the continuous backdrop of the Front Range to the west, it makes for some beautiful and scenic drives. If you're ever taking East County Road or Highway 287 north to Longmont, you'll get some excellent country drives that are fantastic, especially in the summer. Now, another one worth mentioning that a lot of people actually don't know about Erie is that there are two local airports within the town. There is the Parkland Estates Air Park to the north and the Erie Municipal Airport to the south. Now, I'll include a link below to both locations, but it's not uncommon, especially on a clear sunny day, which is practically every day here, to see several turboprop aircrafts circling around the area. There's only so much I can say on this since I'm not a licensed pilot. It's not my specialty. But the Erie Municipal Airport is open for those interested in getting a specific spot for their aircraft, while the Parkland Air Park seems to be reserved for residents and invited guests only. Now this is definitely an interesting aspect to Erie that makes it a bit different from the other surrounding suburbs. And if you're an aircraft enthusiast, it might be worth a bit more research. For the rest of us on the ground, I will say the noise disruption from these airports is minimal. So if you're worried about noisy neighborhoods, you shouldn't be. And now for another aspect of Erie that probably isn't talked about that much in other videos, is the taxes. One reason is it can be a little mundane. As I mentioned before, Erie is split into two different counties, Boulder and Weld. Boulder County on the west side and Weld County on the east. As a result, the property taxes and sales and use taxes are going to be different. Right off the bat, I'm gonna say property taxes are gonna be a bit difficult to explain in this video. One, for time, but also because of a multitude of factors. What I recommend doing is visiting the county assessor's website and doing some research there, because it's all public knowledge. But what I can mention here is that there's going to be an immediate difference in the sales tax in either county, and it might shock you. Boulder, with probably no surprise, is going to be higher. If you live on the Boulder side, your sales tax is going to be as follows. And there is a wonderful website I have included that has an interactive map where you can do this across all of Colorado. So in Boulder County, you're going to have the Colorado state tax of 2.9%. Then you're going to have the Boulder County tax of 1.185%. Then you're going to have an Erie town tax of 3.5%, a regional transportation district tax of 1%, and a scientific and cultural facilities district tax of 0.1%. The last one, I can't seem to find an area on the western side of Erie that doesn't include it, for a grand total of an 8.685% sales tax. Now on the eastern side in Weld County, you're going to have the state tax. There's not going to be a Weld County tax. That's big. You'll still have the Erie town tax, and depending on the location, that regional transportation district tax. So there's going to be a range of 6.4% to 7.4% sales tax. Now I recommend using this map, especially if you're looking at other suburbs in Colorado as well, because there are some towns and suburbs that sneak in their own specific tax, as well as tax differences between the counties. So this will be a great tool for you to use if you're looking for spots with low taxes, or higher taxes if that's your thing. But in Erie, there is a clear distinction between the Boulder County and the Weld County taxes, and that can be a pro or a con depending on where you are. Okay, little bonus for you now. This seems to be something that a lot of people don't really know about until they get into Erie, or if you've driven through the town. And it's that cell phone coverage here is absolutely terrible. Okay, really in one specific location. And I've actually mapped it out. It's this strip right here, which is ironically about half the town, but it's really spotty. And I mean spotty like it's still bad even if the person you're talking to is 2 miles up the road. So this can become an incredibly frustrating spot if you're doing a morning commute or just driving through the area and you're talking to somebody, because more likely than not, you're gonna lose them. All calls practically drop off the face of the earth. And I know it's not a carrier issue because everyone I know with different providers experiences the same thing. I'm not quite sure why this occurs. I haven't yet found the answer, even though I'm still digging. All I know is that calls in every other suburb in Boulder County, even the rural areas, are better than Erie. For some reason, this town has terrible cell phone coverage. Now that might not necessarily be a make or break here, but it's quite annoying. And so hopefully after this, you've gotten a better understanding of what Erie, Colorado is like, as well as learned a little bit more that you probably won't find elsewhere. I always recommend to those who reach out to me, who are looking for a place to buy, to dig just a bit deeper into the towns they're considering. If it's your next place to live, you'd want to make the best choice, right? Well, in your search for more information, here's a few videos about Erie and the surrounding areas. I recommend watching those next. It'll help build a better picture. This is Life on the Front Range. I'll see you there.